Hello viewers, welcome to Sakshi Post. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman introduced the Union Budget 2019 for the Modi 2.0 government in the Parliament. So to discuss the Union Budget, we have with us tax consultant Ravi Bharadwaj and also N.A. Khan, Professor School of Economics, University of Hyderabad. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
So sir, the first question for you is this, that what are the main highlights of the budget 2018-2019?
Very highlights of this budget is job creation, which is mostly required for the Indian youngsters. The present we have 7% of unemployment.
Right.
So in order to overcome this huge rate of unemployment, more jobs are required.
Right.
And the budget is doing on this job. And another is the highlight connectivity. Previously we used to say that one man, one car. Now one man, one nation, one card. And coming to power, that is also one nation and one grid. So this is one more highlight. Then many schemes have been announced for urban India and rural India. That is one more highlight I can say. And some schemes of like Pradhan Mantri Sadak Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, that is mostly welcome highlights of this budget. And of course tax exemption is hiked to 5 lakhs. No need to pay when income is less than 5 lakhs. It will give a lot of relief to the middle class of salaried people. So, and there is one more important and one more beauty of the budget is that the fiscal deficit has been tried to confine to 3.3%. This is one more highlight of the budget, I can say.
So what for the farmers?
Now coming to farmers, many schemes have been rolled out. Particularly their income will be made double by adopting some program like a zero budget farming.
Right.
So if one follows strictly, but in the past in Indian experience, we could not succeed in a zero-based budget system. We followed sometime in 70s. But if we succeed in this programs scheme of this zero base, I think there is more scope that the farmers can reach to their double income.
Right.
That is one more highlight of the present
Could you tell our
budget.
viewers what is zero budget income for farmers?
Yes.
And analyze it.
Zero-based budget is a very contrast to the incremental budgeting. In incremental budgeting, we see how much you started with the last year, with how much money you started in the department, or we can say agriculture or irrigation, blah, blah. But in zero-based budget, we start with the zero investment.
Right.
So what is required for you? What is required? That will be given to you. And you have, at the end of the year, you have to show that you really properly, appropriately, you spent.
So that means it's starting from the scratch.
Yes, you're right. Starting from the scratch, zero. So it's seen that in advanced countries like US, they got a very good success in zero-based budget system. But coming to developing countries, it is a little doubtful whether it is workable in Indian economy. If it works, definitely it will deliver the goods. That I am bet sure, I can say.
Right. And sir, since you're a tax consultant, I would like you to tell our viewers about the financial highlights of the union budget.
Right. As our concept mentions, the first, if we are looking at individuals, there is no tax if your income is up to 5 lakhs.
Okay.
So this was also announced by the finance minister during the interim budget as well.
So 5 lakhs, no
5
tax.
lakhs, no tax.
Right.
Your taxable income is 5 lakhs. There is no tax which has to be
Right.
paid.
This was also there in the Modi 1.0 government, or this was introduced?
This was only introduced in the interim budget of financial year 2019.
Right.
So, and you have to pay tax only if your income, taxable income exceeds 5 lakhs.
Right.
And the government is always saying that you tax the rich more and leave the poor people. So continuing with that thought process, they have imposed super rich tax. If
Okay.
your income is more than 2 crores, you have to pay 3% more surcharge.
Okay.
And if your income is more than 5 crores, you have to pay 7% additional tax. So the tax rate on the super rich is becoming more and more, and they are trying to cut down the taxes on the middle income groups. The other key highlights are the standard deduction is also increased by 10,000 rupees. Now, presently it's at 40,000.
Okay.
The proposal is to make it 50,000. And the Modi government has always been encouraging digital payments. So now there is a TDS of 2% imposed if anybody withdraws cash exceeding 1 crore from a bank account in a particular year. So in the total financial year, if you withdraw cash more than 1 crore,
Right.
you have to pay 2 lakh rupees. So this is again one more measure to curtail cash transactions and to encourage digital payments.
Okay.
So this is the demonetization is the first step taking towards a cashless economy. Now in continuation of that, they have introduced one more measure to curtail cash transactions. And if we are looking at a corporate tax rate, now we have seen that there is individual tax rate and a corporate tax rate. The Modi government has always mentioned that we will cut down the corporate tax rate in a phased manner. So they have announced 25% tax rate. For normal companies, it is around 36%. They have announced 25% for companies having turnover less than 250 crores. Now,
Yes.
the finance minister has made it 400 crores. As per the statement given by the finance minister, this 400 crores threshold limit covers 99.3% of the companies incorporated in India. So most of the companies will only have to pay 25% tax rate, vis-a-vis 36% approximately, including education, etc. As we stand today, there is only 0.7% companies.
Right.
Because there may be huge companies like Infosys, Microsoft. They'll be only in the bracket of say 36-37%. That's one more measure. And coming to assessments, a scrutiny assessment which is undertaken by the tax department, Modi government wants to do a faceless. Now the government officials or tax department issues notice, then somebody will go represent before them, they'll submit information, and then your assessment is complete. Now they want to do a faceless tax assessment. So they want to create a center cell. Center cell will issue notices through emails to the taxpayers
Okay.
without knowing the jurisdiction of the assessing officer who is issuing it. So if your case is picked up for scrutiny assessment, that will be allocated to an assessing officer which is not known to the taxpayer. That assessing officer will do some research, or he'll look at the file and then issue a notice which will go to the center cell, and then the center cell will issue a notice to the taxpayer. So this random allocation of files and faceless scrutiny assessment will certainly help, because if you see the speech, she was also mentioning that if you reduce if you reduce the personal interaction
Right.
with the tax department, then you are in a position to cut a lot of discretionary powers given to the income tax officer and also avoid undesirable events. And in order to promote electronic vehicles in India, so there is a tax deduction of 1.5 lakhs is also given to the taxpayers if you take a loan and buy an electronic vehicle. In that case, you will, and whatever interest paid to the bank, you can claim a deduction up to 1.5 lakhs. So
Right.
as per the finance minister, you probably over the period of the loan, the taxpayer is expected to gain approximately around 2.5 lakhs of tax.
Right. And in India, we have seen that there's a very booming startup culture. So what all are the proposals that the finance minister has made for the startup companies?
Yeah. So there are many many proposals were given by Sitharaman ji in relation to a startup. So there is a theory called angel tax.
Right.
So once you declare the details of the promoter, whoever has invested in a startup, then there is no scrutiny assessment.
Okay.
So the assessment will not be done if you provide full details to the tax department. And if a startup is engaged in housing projects, I guess, you will also get a 3580 deduction. So there are many proposals which are also given to startups in continuation with a startup campaign which was started by Modi government.
So my question to N.A. Khan is this, that the centre has also hiked the excise duty by ₹1 for fuel price. So already we had seen just before the elections also, that fuel prices were going really high. So what are the consequences of this price hike?
Of course, it is only ₹1 on petrol and diesel hike. I don't think it will affect much. Of course, the prices of oil is already high. Now, seeing Gulf situation, particularly with the US and Iran, more sanctions have been applied. So, oil prices are high already. So, if the government focus on high prices of oil, then I think it will be good for the common man, good for the people who use this, particularly two-wheelers and four. So once the oil prices will come down a bit, then I don't think this ₹1 hike of cess for a good cause it is levied. Then it can be offset, then it can be managed by a common man. But diesel and petrol are almost at par, just a ₹5 difference in between the 1 liter petrol and 1 liter diesel. Of course, it is open to the flexi system, but there the government has to pay attention and see that it should be brought down to a significant level, so that will give a relief to the common man.
Right. And what about the education system? What are the proposals that the government has initiated?
Of course, coming to education, of course, we have many schemes of giving free education to up to some age, what you can say high school, or up to 10+2 system. And this ₹1 levying on this fuel, petrol and diesel, definitely will help a lot in making these schemes of giving free education and meals, midday meals schemes in the schools for encouraging the children to come to school and make themselves educated. It will help a lot. So definitely it will serve the purpose, this ₹1 hike on petrol and diesel, I can say.
Right. And also we've seen that the Modi 1.0 government, we had seen a lot of infrastructure projects that have come up. And in this budget, ₹100 lakh crore has been given for the infrastructure purpose. So is the budget enough, or do you think it's way too much of an allocation?
Yes, a very good question from your side. Countries, economies like developing countries like India want to develop then the sector which can be taken very seriously is the only infrastructure development. And here, if we want to go for more high GDP, gross domestic product, we say, can be accelerated, can be hiked only through infrastructure development. That you may call it roadways or waterways or airways. In the history of developed countries and economic history, we have seen that the country which invested more on infrastructure has achieved high growth. There is a correlation between infrastructure development and GDP, high GDP. But sometimes it is debatable also whether more GDP accelerate or hike infrastructure or more investment on infrastructure push GDP. It's debatable. But in most of the cases and research studies, we have seen that investing more on infrastructure delivered more GDP. Now coming to 100 lakh crores, it is very welcome. In India, it is required. But only thing that she has not spelled out the source from where it can be. She said for 5 years, 100 lakh crores for 5 years. But she has not mentioned the source. Because at present we are seeing in Indian economy, savings rate has come to a very, very low level of 29% from 35.
Right.
But if you see our neighbor China, they have 50% savings rate. So, and one more thing, yesterday in economic survey, the chief economic advisor, Dr. Krishnamurthy Subramaniam said that our vision of Prime Minister is $5 trillion economy by 24-25. Of course, the vision is very welcome. We should go for that. But if you see the grass root level, the ground reality, that to reach by 24-25, the present we are at 2.97 trillion budget.
Right.
So within 3-4 years to reach to 5 trillion is a challenge.
Right.
A great challenge, a big challenge.
That's what is my next question, that we have seen that India's GDP has come down, right? And now Nirmala Sitharaman is saying by this financial year, she is expecting $3 trillion by the end of the year, and by 24-25, she's 5 trillion.
It's a big challenge.
How do you, how does the government...
For me, it is very ambitious. Without hesitation, I can say it is ambitious target.
Right.
But nothing is impossible to realize, to achieve, provided if the means what you are going to adopt to achieve the target are correctly laid, correctly planned. That I can say.
Right, sir. So now talking about GST. So that has always been a topic that everybody has talked about. Opposition has taken a lot of dig. So I think the most major criticism about GST from retailers, and I'm questioning, this is a question from the common man, they have a lot of problems while filing GST. So do you think this GST has just made life complicated?
It's a when GST has implemented in India, so you're right that everybody used to face challenges in filing returns, and there are many instances when the due date to file the GST returns were extended by the government every single time.
That's what.
Because there are so many issues which were come out while uploading the return, because when you will have these kind of teething issues if you implement any kind of a law, especially with this kind of magnitude. We have so many states, we have so many dealers registered under GST, we will have so many issues. But things will get settled down. I mean, in the last 1.5 years, those kind of issues were that people are not able to log into the GST server, they are not able to upload those returns, is no more an issue now. So things will get streamlined as we move forward. For such, I mean, we are 125 crores with population and so many dealers, so it will take some time. These teething issues will get resolved, especially those issues related to filing of GST returns are no more there, but the GST Council are still looking at what are the things which certainly needs to be done to better the GST Act itself, whether it is compliance, implementation, rates. It's a constant evaluation which happens. Government is also taking the inputs from all the stakeholders. Hopefully all these issues will get resolved sooner than later.
Right. So, and the question also, she concluded actually her speech that the fiscal deficit has also come down. So how do you think that the government managed to bring down the fiscal deficit?
So if you have seen the budget, she has also mentioned that the the tax collections in the year 2014 were about 6.8 lakh crores. Now 2019 they are 11.8 lakh crores. It's almost doubled in the last 5 years of time. So as you have seen, there are many measures taken. The number of taxpayers in this country are increasing year on year. So that there are so many people which are coming in the tax bracket. The collection is also more. If you see 100% growth in a 5-year period of time is truly commendable. So thereby, as people are more, if you have seen the finance minister's speech, she was thanking the honest taxpayers. So that's how she started off the direct tax proposals. So because those are the genuine, honest taxpayers who are paying on contributing to the development of this nation. As more tax filers come into the tax bracket, you will have more tax collections, and thereby your spent, even though it is increased, can be offset by the more tax collections in a particular year.
That's all for our interview today. For more news and updates, log on to english.sakshi.com.